Last time on Resurrect SMP. Where am I?
You're in black space. It seems someone has assassinated you.
Why would they?
I do not know, KiguCorp, but it seems whatever progress you made has caused a stir amongst all the other wanderers. I'll need to take over your body.
Take over my body?
KiguCorp, I don't want to do this either, but there's too much at stake.
Okay, I'll trust you, but I need my body back as soon as possible.
I will return your body. I am on your side, KiguCorp.
Oh, thanks for returning my body. It's time to set up KiguCorp, where safety is a concern. Wow, Onesie Buddy was not kidding. My entire storage from back at Restart Island is literally one belt click away from being accessed. Goodness, I have 4.4 million netherrack? That seems a bit excessive. I think what we're going to do is kind of establish a mobile base of operations. And that's mostly because in the event that I do happen to die again and I'm not as lucky as I was before, well, I need to ensure that at base minimum, KiguCorp can continue operating, even if it's at a fractionalized scale. And what I'm thinking is that with this mobile base, we're going to have all the create stuff, as well as some of the space tech that I saw when I was watching Onesie Buddy take over, and probably just for some good measure, maybe add like 1 or 2 more things inside this mobile base in order to sort of cover our own bases, because this island is way more massive than Restart Island, so that's gonna involve me moving around a lot, and even though I love my Lamborghinis, it can be a bit slow. And some of you might be wondering why I'm not wearing the spacesuit that Onesie Buddy was wearing, even though it's a lot better than the diamond armor that I'm wearing. Well, truth be told, I feel like I really didn't deserve it. They were the ones that uplifted me and gave me all this tech, but at some point, I think that in order to adapt, I'm going to need to learn how to actually get these items, and just skipping to final tech without any understanding of how to do it, well, that's never been my style. I always want to understand things at its basic levels so that I can implement my own version of things. So back to the diamond armor we are wearing. Now just give me a moment as I try to present my idea. So when you break it down, there's not that many machines that are in Create. But the ones that I'm going to have inside my mobile base, and for the sake of simplicity, I just organize them based on power input. We of course have the mechanical press, and of course we have 2 of them, because one of them will compress blocks and the other one will just compress items. Then we got the rolling mill, which I believe makes wires, and then we got our deep fryer, which I didn't really know Create had a deep fryer, but hey, there you go. Then from here we have our mechanical mixer, which will of course mix items. The slicer, which serves twofold. It both cuts food as well as logs. Now, the astute of you might realize I don't really cook, so we're most likely going to be using this for the second option, to just strip logs to collect both the bark and strip logs so that we can make more casings. And then we have the millstone for grinding up stuff. Now, for the millstone and the rolling mill, we need a funnel underneath just so the items don't get stored up inside the rolling mill and I forget about them, because I'm kind of forgetful. Then the last on the bucket list is both the mechanical chisel and the mechanical saw, which from my understanding is purely for cosmetic items. While we grow our base, I'm probably going to be using these a lot more than I realize, so I figured having their own section dedicated to just making more decoration blocks, it's probably going to be very useful. And lastly, but not leastly, we're going to venture in some of the more mysterious aspects that Onesie Buddy showed me, and that's of course going into space. Now, we're going to need to get an electronic blast furnace, which I believe makes steel, some fuel refinery to make some of the oil that you see like right over there into rocket fuel, an oxygen loader to convert water into oxygen, an energizer just to act as a sort of battery to store energy as well as charge items. Then we have an oxygen sensor, which is going to be important for the mobile base because I intend for the base to be able to be lived in at anywhere at any time, and so having this oxygen sensor I think might prove to be useful. And lastly but not leastly, we have the NASA workbench. This is the place where you actually create the rocket. Now, I personally don't really know where Ambrosia is. I have a warp plate that brings me there, but I don't know the exact location, and I don't know how deep in space Onesie Buddy put Ambrosia Bank, so this is going to be an interesting thing to just kind of discover it once again. And to my knowledge, I think there are tiers to the rocket, so we're gonna have to find out how high of a tech tree that Onesie Buddy really go in that short amount of time in order to hide Ambrosia Bank. But that's neither here nor there. For now, we need to focus on building this mobile base, which will act as my permanent migrating home, which is kind of a weird concept, but I just want this base to be able to be picked up and gone wherever I want it to be. And it's gonna hold everything that I'm going to need to in case I want to start up again. So yeah, let me just clear this area up and start building. quick interruption. I noticed that only 12% of you are actually subscribed to this channel. Watching this long, I must be doing something right, so if you like this video, hit that like button and please subscribe to this channel. Any support helps and these videos take a bit long to make. Thank you so much and back to the video. Okay, this whole thing is now fully glued together. Now, it kind of looks like a gigantic cube, which in fact it is, but the original intent of this building is to kind of look like a shipping container. For a while, I've been interested in tiny homes. Ever since I was a little Kigu, I've always been interested in tiny houses. And while this might be not as small as some of them, because I have to pack so many things inside this small area, why not try my hand and try to make a kind of shipping container-like structure that's basically a tiny home. On the back, you might have already noticed that there is a combined double windmill here. Because it has a maximum amount of wool and sails, it also generates a maximum amount of stress units that a windmill can make. And in this case, it's about 8,200 stress units. And on the front, I wanted to make it so that there's like a kind of towing hook, which technically isn't really part of a shipping container, but it kind of fits in with the overall aesthetic. And you'll even notice that underneath, there's even girders underneath, just like a real shipping container. But some of these features of this tiny factory, and yes, it's less of a tiny home and more of a tiny factory, since its primary purpose is to just make things on the fly, anywhere, at any time, at any circumstance. You'll notice that there's two encased copper pipes on both sides, that's covered by a copycat slab. Now, I'm going to keep it as a copycat slab because I feel like that looks better. Once we step in, you'll be greeted by these two fluid tanks, which will house 500 buckets of lava on the left side and water on the right side. Because we can go to outer space, which doesn't have natural water or may not have any lava, it's good to have a large number of these kinds of fluids just ready to go. And looking in, you'll see that we basically just crammed all the different items that we talked about earlier into these two walls. And to prove that you can actually lift this entire thing up, we're gonna put down a rail, we're gonna put down the cart assembler, then we're gonna put down the minecart, in which case I already named it the KiguCorp mobile base. Put down this lever, then watch as this whole thing gets lifted up. Now that it's lifted up, all we gotta do is collect it, and in our hands is the KiguCorp mobile base, which I'll be able to take anywhere with me. Remember, infantry wins battles, but logistics wins wars.